Is there a way to,
No, at this
I
point.
forget like how, oh, maybe it's this. Yeah, because I'm gonna share my screen during my part.
Yeah, still, we need one more. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, hopefully somebody will
George
hop on.
or- or hopefully Ed or something.
George
is on. George is in training.
Yeah,
That's
George is
good. On this.
What about Carolyn?
She resigned
Oh.
as of yesterday.
Carolyn and Dina.
She resigned last week.
Was there any reasoning given
I know.
for the resignations?
Well, for Carolyn, it's her mom is not working. So she says she's going to
She's
a couple of months.
She's been busy taking care of
Okay.
Oh, here's Doug. Good.
Yes.
Thank you, Doug.
She never responded to Oh, good. I reached out to her, but she never replied to me.
Ellie, we may need you to jump up with George. No, he can stay with him. Just allow him to participate if he shows up. We'll let you know.
It depends. You have to like register for a training and you have to jump on, so.
All right, well, we'll get started since we have a quorum. Welcome, everybody. I guess the first order of business would be the review of the minutes if there's any edits.
I just got some grammatical stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll matter.
Okay.
I know that.
Thanks for-
Hey, I was doing,
Thanks for writing those.
Yeah, very.
Fantastic.
one comment on that is hopefully.
Yeah,
Oh,
if they can give me a file.
can somebody like record it on their phone?
Oh, I had that thought too, because
Yeah.
that can work for me,
Yeah.
so I'll record it and then that should.
Because if that can go in the text, or that'll save them like an hour.
Yeah.
At
Let's
least
see.
a half hour or something.
Okay, everybody's gotta speak up today's meeting. Let's see how this goes.
So it's no.
The recording off of this thing doesn't work out.
It does, but you didn't take any physical notes, write anything down. You have to listen, right? I guess if I was doing it on two different computers, it would be all right. Then if I was a faster typer,
Yeah.
but
And you can't download file of the recording, which means that,
You gotta play back. the YouTube.
which the playback, like, my tools won't do the transcription.
My problem was playback.
There's also a thing called Fireflies, which you can invite to a Zoom meeting and it listens the entire time and just gives you a recap and a transcription of the whole thing as well.
well, we can figure that
I'll
out.
look
That
into
would be
that for
great.
next
Yeah.
time. Okay, I'm gonna add that to my list.
Things called Fireflies.
All right, we'll see if we can
All
get
right,
a
so
free.
who wants to make a motion then to,
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
all right, second is Doug. Any further discussion other than the grammatical stuff? All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, next item is Dina Stratton, our secretary, has resigned. And as of last week and yesterday, we got an email from Carolyn that she resigned. So we're down 2 members. So we'll need the village and the town to advertise for them. Carolyn, Dina's went through the end of 25, and Carolyn went through the end of 26. And you can confirm that with Tracy downstairs, but I just looked at it on the town website.
And Dina was the village's appointment?
Yeah.
Carolyn.
Carolyn, yeah.
Okay.
So before we go any further, we need someone to step up and raise their hand to the secretary.
I will do it like this transcribed way, but I might need, if for some reason we can't get this to work, I need help from the group, depending on the week. But I think we can get this to work where I can do the transcription.
Morning, Ed. Okay.
But I'm not gonna take notes during the meeting. I really want to participate.
I understand that, yeah.
So if that's good enough, I'm happy to do that.
Well, I would say thanks for that. But I would like to ask again, for administrative support from the village. We got administrative support for 4 years from the town, which was super helpful. trying to participate in the meeting and act as a secretary, if possible. Get the focus, minutes, to find administrative support.
Just someone coming to the meeting and taking minutes.
I don't think it should be. And then also they were circulating circulating the agenda that Jerry was doing.
Yeah, well, that's no big deal.
Okay.
So it's really just the minutes is the heavy lift, right? I'll follow.
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Michelle said that she had done it before church.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying, I don't think we'll have that.
Would be amazing. All right, so
So
maybe I'm not
but-
needed. I'll be the backup and I'll do it
Well,
for
we still
next
need a
week.
secretary
Yeah,
by the bylaw.
right, George.
Which
stepped
really
down as
is-
official secretary.
Huh?
George stepped down, he
Yeah.
didn't want to go.
Yeah. I don't think the secretary does very much, to be honest.
He was, in the
Yeah.
absence of somebody writing
Right.
minutes, he was doing the minutes stuff.
That's it. yeah. We're at a standstill until if somebody,
So we
if
still
you
need
still want
the
to be secretary,
I'll do it.
at least for a month or two.
Yeah, I'll do it. If it becomes untenable for some reason, then we can discuss it again,
Yeah.
but,
Hopefully, and we'll hopefully get another two members.
yeah, right, I think that would be
Somebody
another
might,
one. Yeah.
somebody might.
Okay,
So we need a nomination.
So moved.
No, you cannot,
Nah.
you're not a member of the.
And I'm elated to be secretary ad hoc.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? So, thank you, Elaine. I have to have a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, well, trail stewards, we know that there's quite a few signed up, but since Carolyn resigned, I don't know exactly where we stand there.
I would happily take over the trail stewards,
Okay, yeah, thanks, Grace.
since I signed up to be one, so.
So you'll just probably need to coordinate with either, Tracy's probably involved, but then Jackie downstairs would get all, I don't know, it's Terry might just approve them, because I don't think the board has to.
They should sign up. Yeah, I don't think anybody approved.
Well, I thought the supervisor had to.
there's some signature, like somebody else has to sign
Yeah,
the piece
some-
of paper, I
From the
guess.
town.
Oh, the waiver?
Yeah.
Grace, I don't know if we can work together on.
Okay. Cool. Miranda Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Is also interested in doing a cleanup on the trail.
Yeah, same.
And so I wonder if she would want to be a steward. I'm not sure she knows about the program. So she could also help organize some.
Well, Carolyn was trying to get us through the different sections of the trail.
I'll try to meet up with her. She's in my neighborhood.
She
I'll try to meet
she
up.
has done. So
Yeah.
it's gotta do it.
Okay, I'll see what she left off and.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a list downstairs or forward
Yeah.
for everybody, because we have quite a few of us.
Yep.
That are on it already.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the trail steward? All right. We'll
Thank
move on. Rail trail updates, anyone want to start anywhere?
I have one note that OSI added a counter to the Ellenville entrance at the treatment plant. And that's gonna be up for, there's no end date for that, and it just counts traffic and so they'll be excited to share the numbers over time with us, and they put it a few different spots. They put one in Kerhonkson at that trailhead, and that's just a little update.
You said counter here, I know.
Oh, no,
Yeah, I got it.
pedestrian traffic, you
Calculator.
know. I don't know if it counts dogs, it's a little higher up than my dog, but it's very low profile, like you can't really see it, it's 2 blocks. And it doesn't take any photos or anything like that, it's just a movement count.
Okay, that's good.
Another thing that's happened is the Kerhonkson Trailhead. If you remember, there was a couple with location with gazebos. So the gazebo or the kiosk was purchased for Kerhonkson and OSI, Andy Berglund, the landscape architect, who's the project manager, has drawn up just a little It's smaller than a pocket park, but it's like a landing spot for the kiosk at the Conson Trailhead, and also it straightens out the parking there a little bit, because believe it or not, what's happened is downtown Conson, sometimes between the bar that's open, the restaurant, and the rail trail, that's become a hot spot. So the parking is getting used. So they just put a proposal to the town. They've done construction drawings. They're proposing to have their contractor. And these are the way to get them to do it under his contract, but they're looking for the town to supply the materials, which is landscaping fabric and stone. And he's been talking to Terry about that. But it's a nice little enhancement for that.
There's also gonna be, an ONW, a community engagement event for the ONW corridor study hosted by OSI on May 1st at the Village Town Hall. I don't know the timing of that, but
At Village Hall.
at Village Hall, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know what time though. But that'll be great. I think I'm out of town that day, but she said there's also gonna be a website going live in April that'll have a survey that people can complete too if they're not able to go to the engagement event.
And you know what I know it's supposed to be for outreach, is there anything that OSI is looking for from the community?
I don't know,
Okay.
I don't know, no.
From talking to them, I think, actually, they see our community and the communities of this end of the Rondout Valley as kind of a model of how, the community can quickly work with them to get a rail trail going, and they feel like they're facing more challenges down south of here in Sullivan and Orange County, Sullivan County. So they want to, just increase community engagement there as a model for use further south. They feel like they're successful. That's my understanding.
Was there any other discussions about the washout area? Like the washout?
Yeah, they're, OSI is talking to their engineer, about doing the engineering, provide plans, possibly for the town highway department.
Mhm. Did you know?
How close is the washout to the Port Bend area?
It's really in the middle of the trail. Do you know where they put the bridge in?
On the Ellenville
right.
side.
Got it.
That's a mile, what would you say?
Yeah,
Quarter of a mile in.
a mile,
Yeah.
it's just south.
It's way closer.
You can't miss it.
Yeah, it's closer to the sewer plant than the other direction.
Any word, Elena, from the proceeds from the Run Like the Wind?
I haven't heard back from them.
Okay.
So we had asked the Run Like the Wind crew if they would be up for donating some amount of their race, registration fees toward, the sign that we've been talking about, for vehicular and pedestrian, awareness and discovery of the trail on Canal Street and the Edwards Place. So I'll follow up with them again this week and just do a gentle nudge. Originally, you know, we were thinking, oh, maybe they could contribute to the engineering of the color, but it's too big, whereas the sign is like, what, $500 we quoted. So I'll ask again. It would be such a nice gesture since they're gonna be using the rail trail for the race. So if anybody, has contacts and wants to sort of second that idea or help water that seed we planted, that would be great. Because I think the village is not in a position to fund that sign, but that sign would be amazing.
Do we know if they did last year's money?
No, okay.
Well,
I mean,
they have
they've
scholarships they give. to
Yeah, they've
usually
given
like
money for
soccer teams,
emergency
little league.
responders, right?
Spread their money out over the
Yeah.
last 30 years. More.
Yeah, so I think it's different.
Usually it's towards sports organizations.
Does anybody know if they've, has the town or the village permitted them for their proposed use of the rail trail yet?
The town okayed it. We're just waiting for them to submit their certificate of insurance.
I don't know
Most of
if
it's on the town, actually.
Okay,
I should use We could use that money I got from that.
We're also trying to encourage, there's another race that day, it's called Run Like the Breeze. It's a kids race, and we're trying to encourage them to
Yes, I would.
stage it down there too. But I mean, they would probably all park at the ball field was what we're thinking, and they would, I mean, it's not a long race, but it would, we felt it would draw people down to that area again and give them a realization of what's there, so I don't think that, it's up to the nursery school, they run the race.
And it keeps them off Canal Street. too.
Yeah, that's our goal is really to move, yeah, so we don't have to do traffic up here or anything like that.
All right, so, village section grant project.
So we have some turnover at,
Barbara?
Plow Harbor. But luckily, the new sort of lead on the project has been really communicative. I don't know if you know Lee?
I do.
Okay. It does seem like there's a new delay around, funding and the extension. They're on top of it, which is good, and communicating with us, and it's just gonna be a matter of kind of like making way through the bureaucratic steps to get this detail sort of reinstated. It's the layers of reinstatement are deep, but at least I think it's happening. We just have to wait. It does seem like the timeline is going to be pushed. Originally, Brian, who was our project manager at Bow Harbor, gave me a rough timeline aiming toward July 2025. My guess is, to manage our expectations, we're probably thinking about a year later. I'm just gonna take that leap so that we're not disappointed, but I have a to-do every 3 weeks to just check in and keep each step moving forward, and I think we will get there. It's just gonna be kind of it seems like it's a slog.
So Elliot, are you the project?
Uh, I was just gonna ask, the project manager.
Because God, should be somebody from the village or no, that's kind of in the next.
I mean, Peggy has been actively on top of it, in terms of keeping the details straight on her end, but yeah, I think you need to be it. But I don't know, does it transfer it if there's a
No,
different
you have
village
to
manager?
tell them who the village funders, and it could be, it doesn't have to be, it's typically somebody like the supervisor or the village manager, and there's typically somebody who actually pushes all the paperwork and be elected or appointed this kind of thing.
When you say they tell somebody.
We have to, the village,
Tell
has-
who, though?
the village has to tell the DOT who they
Okay.
want to be the project manager, because I don't know if Mike Warren is still the project manager, but he was.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying, who you tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it through File Harbor.
Right, I'll loop you in on my latest email exchange with them. Actually, you're on it, Elliot. It was back March 6th, but I can write a note just, reiterating, like restarting the thread.
So let's move on then to the next, which is the.
Is that the,
Of our project, and then we might as well start right with the project manager from the village on that one. So did you get an answer, Elena? Because that's gonna have to be Elliot too on that. then.
Yeah, I mean, I think Elliot and I have been trying to find time to kind of go through all these details.
This is the Burn Road Park project.
Yeah,
But I did send you that note last week that was sort of spelling out the RFPs we need, and I think that, and now it's starting to be nervous making, like, we're gonna miss the spring and summer season, for the courts, so I just think I detailed all of the constraints and sort of the stuff. I pulled everything from the grant approval into that email with the RFP details, and I think if nothing else, if we can just get that out so that we satisfy the customary amount of time that
and is that for the resurfacing, the fencing?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and I can kind of is it helpful for you if I just send another note to
Yeah.
get that thread at the top again? Okay.
because are we gonna, they're gonna have an engineer look at that for the research and the courts?
Mike
as part of the,
Mike has already spoken with an engineer about it and consulted. I mean, we were chatting about it recently and saying that we didn't feel like further engineering was needed.
Okay.
But I don't know if you want to speak to that anymore.
Yeah, well, we'll speak to the engineer again. We might as well have them in there with them.
The town's engineer, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would be great.
So-
Hiring an engineer, I think, would put the project at risk.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't have the money.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're supposed to be
But
more-
maybe, wait, just one note on that. I mean, if you wanted to speak to the town's engineer before the RFP goes out, then maybe that's a more timely, like in the next week or so.
Town and village.
Bill,
Do we have a village engineer? Oh. Okay.
All right, then is this gonna include
double.
raising the surface? And going in these bids that you talked about?
That is on the list, yes. And Mike, I think, I can't remember if I put you on that email, but I'll add you to the thread when I restart it for Elliot, just to make sure.
Since we're talking about Thorn Road, it's we're in spring now, is there any, news in terms of the equipment that was going to be, donated? The last I heard, they were, the kids were picking out the ones that they thought would be good.
So I connected with Mark a week or two ago and they had been looking at stuff. You know, we still don't have a sense of how large the donation might be. But I went out and I measured all the gaps in the playground area and sent him the measurements with photos. Chatted with Mike about the best spots. And Mark came back to me actually saying he was sort of disappointed because he felt like none of the spaces were large enough. Which I thought like, okay, so then I was gonna save this for new business, but it's just so exciting, I have to share it. I met with Lisa Wiles, the superintendent of schools. And I wanted to meet with her to just get some background information on the green space at Church and Warren Streets that the school owns. Does everybody know that space?
It's
a-
the elementary school.
Yeah, the old little school building, and then it has the slope with trees.
Right, but the kids was brought, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, so Martin's kindergarten, and Elliot's. Okay, so I just wanted to sort of gauge the school's interest in using that space as public space, and she was totally into it. So she says she thinks the board will be totally into it. She really likes the idea of having the character be potentially even a space where there could be more courts for basketball, but then she really likes this idea of a fitness circuit that could be used by older teenagers and older adults in the community. She's bringing it to the Board of Ed on April 2nd. She's going to discuss it with them. She thinks there's going to be a lot of support for it. And we talked about pretty easy ways to cordon off the building itself and maybe just create a space that's fenced off from that building, so there's no issues with people accessing the building while it's shut down, or she seemed like totally open and up for it. So that was exciting.
That's not to take the swings that they have proposed for Burn Road away.
No. And I think if anything, what she really liked was thinking of the character of the space for older kids and adults. So courts maybe, and the fitness circus equipment. So I'm gonna write to Mark, just kind of updating him. I wanted to update this group first, but I'm gonna let Mark know that that conversation went really well and that she seemed to think the board will be into it. And then maybe if he has bigger ambitions for equipment for that age group, then he would be open to doing the donation in that space. So that's the ideas.
I thought you were gonna say dog park there.
So,
No, since it's a school space,
Yeah.
I think it's really, their interest is in, recreation for kids and the community. And so I think it would be a little inappropriate to make it,
I got
Yeah,
you. It's
so-
got a fence, that's all.
I know, I think it actually would be great, but there's also some erosion questions that would make it not the best location for dogs.
It's got slope on that
Yeah,
property
yeah.
too, right? So finding the spot for the court.
The lower portion.
Yeah, some more level.
Yeah.
Towards Warren Street.
So yeah, I think there's some,
Plus it's a big acres.
So I'll keep everybody updated on that. So, yeah, it was great. I was really excited.
So then on this project, when might we think the RFPs will go out?
We'll work on it on the way. I'll touch that base back with Elena. I mean, Peggy may have, I mean, might have been opera already, so I'll check with
That'd
that.
be great.
The Sooner the better.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
need to get it done this year, that entire project, so that's the county deadline.
That's gotta be complete by end of fiscal year.
I think, was it a year and a half after they awarded it or something? It wasn't 2 years?
and Peggy has done an excellent job keeping track of all receipts and invoices, with one exception that we are still waiting from the town to give us the paid receipts for the playground equipment that was purchased through the town. And I haven't received an answer on that from Terry, but that's the one thing that she doesn't have.
That's right, you keep me for the plan.
So on the playground, we do have the other small pieces for the ages 2 to 12.
Yeah.
Me and Mike Cedar from town, we're gonna try to obtain that and start that project, and get those installed next week.
Right.
Those fit like right in where the other stuff is.
Yeah, but existing playground is now some of that younger age. The little drum set.
Oh, good.
Yeah, a little
Just
music.
thinking about that, has anybody encountered any of those things?
Yeah, I have some.
Those are awesome.
Yeah,
I went to one in Utica that was fantastic. Had drums, chromatically tuned like vibraphone and all, like totally vandal-proof. And kids were, when I was there on Saturday, it was pretty impressive. The kids were all banging away on it.
The only last item there is the light poles. Where is that?
well, I think that needs to be sort of, they just need to be removed.
Light poles.
The light pole.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna remove the rest of the light pole. You're referring to around the basketball and
Yeah,
tennis.
yeah.
Yeah, they need to be taken down before they make water.
Is that gonna be an RFP too then? Is that fitting in the project?
Oh, you're talking about installing or removing?
Well, taking down those and then maybe replace them, can it happen in the?
Can your team remove
I
them?
can remove them.
I think we cannot include it. I mean, we could include it in the RFP if we want quotes. But we are
you know,
going
see
to
the-
quickly be at risk of not being able to do the basic
Yeah, I-
commitment.
Night play is a nice amenity, but it's not critical.
And there's no way we're gonna be able to do the poles and lighting and all the courts improvements with the remaining monies. We need to find more money for the lighting.
That's,
So I would do it separately.
that's just wondering.
So we do have, like Jerry said, we have to get those poles out for the.
Yes, and I think
So that's
getting the
why-
poles out is not,
I didn't hear, actually.
we gotta get the poles out, but we can do it.
I'll remove them.
Yeah.
I'll remove the poles, and I'll do whatever assistance I need to do. I would just ask if we can move forward and purchase some more, engineering fibers. That is, which is playground mold. So that we can dress up the existing part and have a little bit more in hand as we move forward for the.
Do you have a dollar number on that, like, just so she has an idea?
I would say you're looking at probably about $1,000.
Is there a budget? I mean, I don't wanna ask about the budget for the village, but is there, I mean, playground mulch is a recurring yearly item. Do you have a budget line for that?
I don't actually have a budget line. I was actually referring to the money that exists and using it for right now
Yeah.
against the project that's that in to finish up, and then from there on out, we'll do a budget line for that, you know.
Critical?
It's not critical, it's just a cosmetic thing right now, we're just finishing up, and as we finishing up that section of the park to have that,
Make it nice.
make it nice.
Not making any promises, but I can also ask at the town level too, to see what kind of funding we have for available for mulch.
Yeah, they've got a living, the playground there is mulched out, so there may be
I know we just approved more for Whitman, so it's kind of a good time.
So spring's the time to do it, right?
Yeah.
Or anything further on the Burn Road flood? We'll just quick, nothing new, anything new on the survey, and
I mean, at this point, we would have to start the whole process over. The quotes were got the quotes in June of 2023. So they would have to all be redone, would have to repackage everything, so asking the group, is it worth going back out to the surveyors to get the quotes updated and sending it back to the town?
So I asked around about it, and the question that was asked to me is there ongoing complaints from those property owners, or is this proactive to avoid?
Proactive to avoid maintaining trails on neighboring properties.
Got it.
And know where, so we're not putting town money into resources like we just did the pickleball courts that are close to the property line there. And some other things like that, so just making sure we're actually making or putting facilities on park land and not on private property.
and vice versa too, so.
Yeah, and I don't know if I wrote it down, I'm looking back in my notes, was there a estimated cost to that you had?
Yeah, I got 3 quotes that I
Okay.
shared with Terry on July 19th of 2020.
Look at you. Okay.
Let's move on to the dog part.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So I have an update to our presentation and, oh, I have to join the meeting. And also, an ask for a new vote. So this is exciting. And some new pictures of dogs in the presentation. So if anybody.
Your dog?
My dog is making an appearance, my parents' dog is gonna be in there, so we've got some. My goal is to include new dog pictures every time I present. Sorry, this will just take a second, because I gotta join the Zoom. Wonder if I need to let myself in.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, George was pretty busy. But he does try and join it.
Oops. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna share my screen. And, okay, here we go. Everybody should be able to see it. Okay. So, does this work? Yes. Okay, so this shouldn't be, oh my gosh, we cannot cover up the dog pictures.
I was wondering if that was a pirate dog.
There's so many good ones. Okay, so, some of you have seen this, our guests have not, but this is kind of an expansion of the presentation I did when we originally voted to officially adopt this as an initiative of the commission. So just to do a quick, recap, is like, why do we want the dog park? There's a lot of amazing benefits we get, and there's also a lot of data out there showing that supporting these aspects of it, but better health and well-being, this is not just for dogs, but it's also for the humans of our community who either own dogs or love being around dogs, or if anybody has watched dogs play joyfully, they know that it will make your heart soar. It's also, a dog park is a great place for people to meet and bond. There are amazing statistics out there about increased property value in the areas immediately adjacent to dog parks. So I think that's an economic boon for, wherever we are able to establish this. And also with dog parks, you do have an economic impact of people coming from surrounding communities or while passing through, stopping, visiting the dog park, then visiting, maybe having lunch, going to a coffee shop, this kind of activity. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight is, a dog park can be a solution to a lot of different things. It can help socialize dogs so they're better behaved overall. It can also be a place where dog owners can help educate each other about dog behavior and dog training. And it can also be a way to utilize public space that might be underutilized, and therefore detracting any kind of like squatting or drug use or things that can happen in public space that isn't populated. Okay, so why now? We do know that community engagement is high. We've got really great programming. It feels like layering on a new exciting space to highlight and bring people into is going to be very of the moment. And I also see this real opportunity to move beyond basics is what I'm calling it, where we can start thinking sort of like that green space with the school. It's like thinking about our green spaces with different characters for different uses and really starting to have like a profile of parks that satisfy a lot of different segments of our community and different needs. This is just a smattering of how other communities promote themselves through promoting the dog park, which I think would be really, really great for Ellenville and Woolworthing. And then, of course, there's questions about liability and risks. That is my dog in the upper right-hand corner with Mayor Trent's dog, Elsie. They are best friends. This is a solved problem. There's a lot of, municipal dog parks exist all over New York State and the United States. And this slide is basically to show that they're doing due diligence, doing it properly, making sure the village and town aren't liable. These are solved problems that will be, not complex to solve and will be addressed.
Yeah, there's precedent and a roadmap on exactly how to do it.
Exactly. Somebody actually gave me the sign on the left. Someone gave that to me as a gift and I have it at my house, which is in my backyard. Okay. So then thinking about like what makes for a great dog park. I did a bunch of research on best practices around the state mostly, but also further around the country. So these are kind of like agreed upon attributes that make for a great space. You want a convenient location and you want it to be close to where people live and do, business, but you don't want it to actually immediately border people's private homes. The more space, the better. Dogs, they interact really well, but they also do need their space. So confining to a small space is not ideal, but having as much space as possible is great. There's also a lot of preference for a combination of shaded area and open fields. Anybody who's been to a dog park without any shade knows that it can be a little bit brutal for the humans and the dogs can get hot too. Also drainage and established ground cover is really important. Proximity to public parking is also a big thing. And beautiful surroundings, we want it to be a space people want to be in with their dogs. I've been to some pretty dire dog parks and they don't have me hanging around very long. Okay, so then in infrastructure. Here, I'm not going to read through all these, but basically what I've done in my research is bumped out sort of the minimum requirements of launching a dog park, which I'm calling a V1, and then nice to haves, which would be a V2. And I think that small dogs area, the reason I have it at the very top is that I would love for that to be in a first round launch, but this will depend on funding. It's just a question of money. And I checked with a few people who have started dog parks around the country, contacts that I have, and oftentimes people launch without the separate area and then add it quickly because additional fundraising is usually a bit easier once a park actually exists. Okay, here's where we are in the process. This is like one of my favorite photos. So we, in the later part of last year, we passed a motion to adopt this as an official initiative. I've been spending the last months researching and evaluating possible locations in our community. And the Coalition of Forward Facing Ellenville has officially agreed to fundraise for the project. So that's sort of where we are. Next steps, today I'm gonna be showing some of my research and evaluation on locations. And then ideally, we're hoping to present findings and a recommendation if the commission approves it to the town. Maybe on April 4th, we make the deadline for getting into onto the agenda. Okay, so here are the 4 locations. Oh, whoops, I entered a calculation on the last one. Anyway, here are the 4 locations that we've explored: Burn Road Park, Bob Mangles Municipal Park, Canfor Park, and Mill Street Park. I ran into a few deal breakers in researching 3 of the 4 locations. While Burn Road Park has a lot of parking, a lot of space, one thing that I discovered in talking to people who've established dog parks is that one of the biggest things is that people said to me was, if you can put it in a totally separate location from a playground, you should. That the intersection and interactions of kids and dogs is not always the best thing. And so setting the community up for that overlap can be tricky. It's not like, terrible, but it wasn't something I had considered. And a few people said that to me.
That's been the case with Lebanon Park.
Interesting.
Those are, Lebanon's the same example.
Yeah,
Over the years, they've wanted it at Lebanon Park, but that's the problem behind it. It's
yeah.
literally, people were bit the same day that they were oriented, the town board was talking about it. We had pictures of people being bit.
Gruesome.
Yeah, right.
So hence the deal breaker. Canfor Park, which is a beautiful park that I'm excited for us to talk about at some point as a commission. It's not really walkable or bikeable from a more populated area. It is in need of some major bridge repairs. It feels like the character of that park could be a fishing character, which I know is also the history of it to some degree. And there's also a playground there. And then Mill Street Park, which is the small green space off of Center Street in the village. There you have no designated parking and there is a private home immediately adjacent to the space. So doesn't really satisfy those best practices. Then we get to Bob Mangles Park. I have 2 slides on the attributes and conditions that I've sort of discovered and looked closely at here. We do have a convenient location that's close to the residential and commercial areas, but the perimeter of this park does not border any private homes. And that's a big deal. There's even, it's at, if folks don't know, I should have included a little map, but this is, does anybody not know where this park is? Okay, so I don't have to describe it. Right, so across the street, that's the other thing that's really great. Even though it's in a residential community, you have a buffer where across Webster Street is the rescue squad building that kind of buffers it from the rest of that little neighborhood. There's also tons of space. As Terry informed me, it used to be a softball field and a baseball field. And the elephant burial ground, it has the animal spirit in there. I think that would be, we'll have to do a shrine to the elephant. I think we'll raise some money for
Dogs are
that.
gonna find it. Yeah.
It's a long story, but a circus elephant apparently met its untimely death in Ellenville.
Wasn't Elliot's, age,
Were you there when the elephant was buried?
riding the elephant?
The legend is that the elephant was used to put up the poles in the circus tent, it was a trunk. And that one of the poles hit an electric wire, and it was a metal pole, and the elephant was electrocuted and they buried it on site. That's the legend.
I think we can, do some sort of homage to the elephant spirit. The other thing that's really unique about this space is that there are shaded areas and open fields. I've also been frequenting this park regularly for the last 1.5 years and paying close attention to the drainage and ground cover, and it's pretty incredible. We don't have any puddling in this park, which is a big deal when you're talking about dog parks. A little puddle can become a huge mud pit very quickly. And the ground cover is very well established and also great upkeep on part of the town. There is proximity to public parking. There's, the street on Webster, just outside the park, across the street from the fire rescue squad. I measured it and it has space for about 9 parking spots, not including the legal space for that fire hydrant. And then it's sort of like an indeterminate parking area over in the corner, but there's a little space there where people.
the elephant.
Oh, that's where the,
What avenue are you referring to? What street?
what?
Is this on the Washington Avenue or the Wood side? The parking.
Oh, the parking space is on the DeWitt side by the pile of rocks.
Yeah,
People park over
It's
there.
like a flood, it's like a floodplain area.
It's just like people, 1 or 2 cars go over there, but you do have about 7 to 9 legal spots on Webster adjacent to the park before the fire hydrant. And then, wait, how could I skip it? I mean, look at the photo.
Yeah.
Anybody who has stood in this park knows that this is one of the most gorgeous views we have in the town of Warsing and Ellenville. The surroundings are just incredible. We also, the park is very well maintained. Most of the space is already fenced in. And what I've come to understand from frequenting this park lot with my dog Seeger is that local residents primarily use this for dog walking as it is. Now, there are 2 problems that I think we can, sort of tangential problems we can solve by converting this space to a dog park, which I'm actually really excited about. I have talked to residents in the neighborhood who say the main complaint about the park is that there are occasional squatters and there's some drug use in this park. I think the best way to mitigate that is by making this a designated dog park and bringing more people to it and having it be used in a real kind of active way. And also to inject some attention for the park, which, is a deterrent for folks who are maybe up to no good. There's also complaints locally about dog owners not picking up dog poops. I pick up a lot of other dog poop that's not produced by my dog in this park. And I think that also can be a problem that we solve as part of the dog park. We would install those stations with bags and little bins. And that would be something that we need when we ask the town, for support with this. It's part of what we will ask for. Right now.
Regular maintenance item.
Yes, and right now the town is maintaining the lawn and some tree upkeep, but there's no trash removal. So, that is something we could decide, listen, if we don't have the support for that, it's not a must-have. It's a nice to have. But it would be, at the very least, you could put up the bag stations if we didn't want the trash removal and encourage people to carry out and have, similar to Minnewaska, have signs about this is a carry out facility. Please take the waste with you.
That's just been my experience. The one thing that people will not carry out is their dog poop bags.
Yeah. Yeah.
They usually tie them onto trees or leave them in the parking lot.
Yeah, I think if we can get the trash removal piece, it would be big.
Yeah.
It'll be big.
There's a donor for poop stations, right? For the veterinarian.
Yeah, the Rondout Valley vet. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're okay.
Brian said he would do that too a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's also a lot of like social pressure at dog parks, like when other people are picking up dog poop. Mike Jetter sees me in our neighborhood a lot, waving around my poop bags as I go out with Seeger, just to inspire others to do the same. Okay. So, now is the time. I would love to ask the commission, to support a motion to recommend to the town of Warsing that a municipal dog park be established at the site of the current Bob Mangles Botanic Garden, with funds to be raised to support the project by the Coalition of Forward Facing Ellenville. I also played around with what feels like a very fun name for the dog park, just for some fun. That it could be the Warsing Webster Street Dog Park, for example. Just some fun ideas. It sort of rolls off the tongue, I thought.
What elephant park?
Bit of a morbid undertone there, but, so that's pretty much it. I mean, we can discuss if there's questions or concerns, but I think we're at the point where I'd love for the commission to support this motion.
So all the funding will come from Coffee, right? There won't be any town or village.
That's the goal, yeah.
Okay, just because I know.
Yep.
I can just foresee the online chatter about, oh, we don't have any money,
Yeah.
or the other park isn't done, and so I
Yeah.
just wanna make sure we get ahead of that.
Yep, I think that the whole goal of this project is that this would be sort of a private-public partnership, and that Coffee would basically maintain a crew of volunteers that would also head up further improvements and support the town in maintenance of the park, which is actually a very, very common approach that municipalities take. Oftentimes dog parks are either completely hosted by a private individual on public space or with some sort of partnership. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think, since it's in a small neighborhood and it will, somewhat, it's a change in use in the property, that, community engagement should happen before this proposal goes to the town board or after the town board?
I was gonna say that part of my ask at the town board was if the town wanted to, schedule a vote at a future meeting and do a public hearing as part of that meeting where I could also make this presentation and be available for questions and discussion, and members of the community could come out and comment and be part of that public hearing. I think, I'm all for the open process, and
I know you've been walking around there and talking to the people that live there. What do you pick up from them?
so, the main conversations that I have been with people who live there, walking their dogs in this park.
Yeah.
Who really love using the park with their dogs.
Against the rules, but
Yeah, but literally I've never seen a person in the park without a dog, which is
Have you
funny.
engaged the first aid squad folks and the nursery school folks who both are pretty close to that park?
Yep, the nursery school, the kids do not leave the facility and the property, so we don't have a.
School, is that next?
It's on Washington Ave. And I checked into that just to make sure there was no conflict or there would be kids moving near or in the park, and they don't use the park. But yes, my conversations with people, the aspects of them that have been a little disappointing is a little bit of a, I love this, I love using it this way, I'm happy talking to you, Elena, but I don't want other people coming. And while I understand the sort of protective nature where that comes from, I think that's how we don't manage, that's not how we manage public space. That said, I mean, for me, two of the biggest things that have come up in my conversations with people in the community are their complaints about the poop and the squatters. And I think that the dog park is actually the best solution for both of those issues. And so what I'm hoping also is that that'll be a big win that can mitigate concerns. I mean, I also think, do I think we're gonna have 100 people going to this park on a Saturday? I wish, that would be a nice problem to have, but I don't see that exactly happening, but.
The eight or nine cars, legal parking spaces is actually a limiting factor. And if it did get popular and people started bumping out into the neighborhood, there could be, feedback.
Yeah, I think that would be in my mind, a good problem to have, but I think, the way that I imagine it in my visions would be like, wouldn't it be incredible if it was so popular and there was so much attention to it that we could somehow connect it to the rail trail via a pedestrian bridge over the creek
Well, that
and
will
get funding,
That will connect the shopping center.
It would connect the-
old folks.
all of it. And so I think as a someday, that's like the dream.
All that cycling.
It would be a great OSAC.
There's 24 properties down there. I think the biggest pushback you're probably gonna get are from the first aid squad folks worried about jamming up that area when they are responding to a call and, the concern about parking. So that's something that if we address it
Mhm.
prior to rolling it out,
Mhm.
maybe something. that-
how do their vehicles exit that building? Because they have that.
I
huge
think it's on the
parking.
other side.
Yeah, they have a couple of different bays
Yeah.
on all sides.
I thought they would come out into their park.
No, nothing.
They don't have a bay on
I think
Webster.
that's where they come in and they may throw their cars in the lot there, to access the building on the Webster side. Park their own personal cars.
I've only seen cars in their lot. And,
But I'm looking at it and that you can cultivate that space to the north of the park as Designated
there's
parking.
probably 4 spots
Easily,
over there.
easily, so.
The other thing to know is that most people stay at a dog park for about 25 minutes. So even if it's very popular, the turnover is actually much quicker than a lot of public space.
The one thing we haven't talked about is that the town has been under pressure for a long time now to establish a dog park. And this commission is recognizing that and trying to come up with a solution
Yeah.
prior to that. So the issue hasn't gone away.
Right.
And I think that the proposal that you have up there, I think is the answer to it. I think it needs a lot of, resolutions sort of things. So I would be happy to make the motion for what you have here to recommend to the town board that an additional dog park be established at Bob Bangles Botanic Garden site.
Can I ask one more question? So I know, and Ed may be able to speak to this a little better, I know that, the reason that park drains so well is because it's all part of a federal floodway. And, I've seen some mapping showing, like easements for the floodlands there.
It is flood control.
Right,
Yeah,
Is the park like exempted from that or outside?
I would say no. In my opinion, I would say no. We do a spring and fall inspection every year with DEC and Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
And then we do site it. They do, it's not cited, but they do visit it.
Yep.
And see how the drainage is being done
The park itself,
Yeah.
the fenced in area?
from the Bears
Which is
Hill
burned.
to Pine Hill.
which is burned to the creek, so that was part of the project.
I mean, I don't see that being a big problem because the use, you're not really changing anything in the use with
Right.
regards to a floodway, but I just,
Just adding the fence, probably, right?
Yeah, that's it.
No
Yeah.
buildings or
Right,
maybe
yeah.
some, eventually some.
you're not changing the mowing cycles
No.
or drainage or anything, so it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
With that, I still want to understand where was the parking going to be? I still didn't.
On
So-
Webster, as my
On
understanding.
Webster Street, there's public curbside parking from DeWitt to down Webster toward Washington before the fire hydrant. Just public on-street parking. And I don't think we're gonna create any designated parking for the first wave of it. Cause there's the space there for, depending on the size of the car, 7 to 9 vehicles. But then on the north side at DeWitt, at the corner there, currently people park over there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not a clear parking space, but there's gravel and it's at the end of the street. And that to me, actually, that's where I would want to check with DEC actually, because that's an access point to the flood plains. And so I'm staying away from all of that and just keeping the scope on the park side.
The short part where it ends with fencing.
Yeah.
That's where I always park. on
Yeah.
there.
So, Colleen, are
It's
you,
not actual.
I know, that's why I'm not suggesting that
Posted
parking.
no park.
I'm just identifying the legal on-street parking that currently exists.
is this angle parking or parallel?
No, it's
parking?
parallel parking.
Yeah, it's parallel.
Is that area like where the road ends and it goes right to the park? Is that posted no parking?
It's not.
I don't think there's a sign, but I've never felt like it was official,
Floodplain.
but this is where people park. So if we wanted no parking there, we build in maybe a sign to, just to reiterate that.
So, Mark
I,
made a motion.
I think like having some kind of a site plan before we go to the town makes some sense. Because these parking things, they can you can quickly.
I can mock that up. I'll mock that up. That's a great, no.
We'll have to
No
go in
problem.
front of the planning board then too.
No, I think, do you just mean, like, I can mock up a site plan to just show the vision and the space use and where things,
No, I understand that, but we'll you show planning board where your parking space. It's on the street.
Actually, that's not gonna be the building, that's gonna be the building, the parking,
Yeah.
the roadways, all the buildings.
but the planning, what with the planning board, there's no change in use for the parking. I don't think that would, we would,
Ready to park.
Well, I'm assuming,
and it's
that-
already a municipal park.
I would assume that they line it for parking spaces or just ad hoc, just pull
I
them over.
think we do, yeah, it's just,
I'm just asking,
yeah, I just think,
there's no obstacles to jump over.
right, I
It
think,
may make sense to just, to do that further on in the process and get this asked now. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Say, I think we don't, unless the town would require it. Like, there's plenty of other places in the village where parking is not painted, where public,
This is a lot like,
Legal
this is a lot like Mill Street, right? Like the
Exactly.
parking for Mill Street is just on the public.
it's just on the public street, yeah, so I think,
Don't try to change.
yeah,
I
which is
want that to
fine.
be
I mean,
Parking on Mill Street.
I think I think right now, it's legal, public on-street parking that has a lot of precedent throughout the village. And it's not, like, from the conversations I'm having with people, a dog park is not an issue where you have tons of bottleneck parking situations for hours on end. Again, there's
Just to
20-minute
understand-
turnover.
Just to understand this, the park is on town land, but
Yes.
the neighborhood is all village property.
Town owned, right? But
Yes.
village-
So the town, the line just kind of cuts right through there or right at the park is the
Yeah,
town village.
just the mowing line, the curb line, the botanical gardens is the town.
Yeah.
The village owns the road.
All those houses are on village property.
Yes.
Got it.
All right, well, we need to move along here.
That's after mine.
Yeah, let's get going.
Sorry.
So, we're in motion, does somebody want to second it?
I second.
Second it, any further discussion? All those in favor to the unanimous? All right, quickly, any old business overlooked, go Mike?
Only thing I would say, one, I gotta finish the drainage on Railroad Park. Outside of that, I know there's a lot of going on and everything's being done beautiful. I would say this about Vernal Park, we coordinate with Ellen and hopefully we get that in, Elaine. I would say, as a committee, all get together and kind of work and get Vernal Park done.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
You know, I have a lot of stuff as a supervisor underneath Ellie to do outside of Vernal Park. I know we have this grant that needs to be fulfilled, but I would say let's just
Yeah.
work together. Let's all try to get Vernal Park done and finished so that we can move forward.
Yeah.
I'm willing to help with anything and everything else.
yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah. All
So I
right, any
think
other old
then
business?
it's like me with the engineer, then he does the RFP. I think those are the next two steps.
I'll talk to Delaware
Okay,
engineer that's through the village, deals with it, you want to talk to the town or.
okay.
Any other old business overlooked? Any new business?
If you wanna, so I hiked up to where they paint the rock, a few weeks ago, and there is so much trash up there. It's crazy. I was like, oh, I'll pick up this bucket. And I was like, oh my God, there's 5,000 buckets up here. So I do think we should maybe think about potentially trying to organize cleanup. It's really bad. Not that
Talk
anyone,
about the mountain,
yeah, where they paint every year.
the senior class.
Yeah.
You know, I gave.
They don't remove it. They
I
literally,
gave the school every right and the students to bring all the trash down, put it at the pavilion there on the top of the
Okay.
road, and let us know when we remove it.
Cool.
That's what we've been doing for years.
okay, because I was gonna just organize people, but I was like, I don't know how to even get, like, I guess I could just put it in my trash can, but,
Well, if you want to just bring it down,
Okay.
bring it to the street department, and coordinate with me, and then we talk.
we could do that with the stewards. Yeah. I want to.
I was remiss, but
Left it up there.
in the beginning.
I don't
I don't get it, yeah.
No, you are. In fact, I should have introduced, we had to introduce yourself at the beginning, and here we are at the end. So,
I am
I
very
remember.
disappointed. Why don't you make the kids who put it there?
I would try to, I'm gonna organize cleanup and I would like to try to engage the kids to help. bring it.
there's-
Some signs that say you brought it in, you take it out.
The school should also
Seniors are
just,
supposed to do that, they're supposed to.
yeah,
bring
the school
kids.
should be like, do your thing, it's cool,
Yeah, it's highly,
fine, clean it.
it's not really like a
Yeah,
sanctioned
like-
school activity, it's not a sanctioned school, not
Oh, no,
a.
they just-
Right.
Okay, anything else? Otherwise,
Take care, everyone.
adjourn and see you April
Thanks, everyone.
18th here. Yep.
Great.
I'm excited to start.
Yeah,
Great.
I don't even have that. You're gonna have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People and Queen Charles' sister, who is very involved in dog rescue, who's already asking questions, like whether we in area is small dogs. And I don't know how to do it. And maybe they.
Nice.
So I don't. We're gonna have people gonna find